From Anshe Sfard Bethel Emeth Congregation, it's time to take 10 minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.
Welcome to our discussion of the meaning of Matza, continuation of our discussion of Haggadah highlights. We started discussing last week the writings of the Maaseh Hashem Haggadah. That's the Rabbi Eliezer Ashkenazi, a rabbi in the 16th century who lived not only in Cairo, but also in parts of Poland as well. He asked a very basic question, and that is that there's a contradiction in the Haggadah regarding matzah. At the beginning of the Seder, we start off by saying that halach ma'anya diachalu avotanu ba'arad Mitzrayim, that this is the bread of affliction which our ancestors ate in the land of Egypt. And then later on, Rabbi Gamliel says very clearly that matzah zu shanu ochlim mal shuma. Why do we eat this matzah? Shum shelo yispik b'tzekam shel avotenu la'achmitz ad shnigla alehem melech malchim lachim hakadosh baruch hu galam. That the reason we eat the matzah is because the Jews didn't have a chance to let the dough rise until the Holy One, blessed be He, rose up and saved us and redeemed us. So, sort of, is the matzah good or is the matzah bad? Does the matzah commemorate the slavery or the freedom? Which one is it? The Abarbanel, whom this commentary very closely follows, he says that, well, it's referred to as lechem oni, the bread of affliction, in Deuteronomy, but that was in Egypt. It was a bread of affliction. But for all generations, it's something of great joy. But that doesn't work, says Rabbi Eliezer Ashkenazi, because the verse in Deuteronomy that calls it the bread of affliction was after they got out of Egypt. And actually, on the contrary, based on the previous writings of Rabbi Eliezer Ashkenazi, we should say that it's the bread of affliction nowadays in Golus, in exile, when we're speaking in Aramaic, when we're having this lament of the halach ma'anya. But originally, this is the bread of freedom. So perhaps it depends on where you are today as to whether it's the bread of affliction or the bread of freedom. But moving along in Rabbi Eliezer Ashkenazi's thinking about this question, he says we need to ask a number of questions. With that, we can answer this contradiction. This is number one: why are there 7 days for Pesach? We went out in one day, either at night or during the day. But that was on the first day. Well, why do we need 7 days of refraining from chametz? And why is it that the first night is an obligation to eat matzah, and the other days you just cannot eat chametz, the leavened bread, but you could eat matzah or not eat matzah? What's going on? Furthermore, why is it that when Rabbi Gamliel lists the three foods, he starts with a Pesach, and then the matzah, and then the maror? The maror should be at the beginning. The maror tells the story of the slavery, and then we should talk about the story of the Exodus through the passing over and through the matzah when we went out. What's going on there? And also, the verse in Deuteronomy needs some explanation. Parshat Re'eh. It says, Shiva yamim tochal matzot lechem oni. 7 days you should eat the matzah, a bread of affliction, bread of poverty, bread of suffering. Why? Because in great haste you went out. So there in one verse you have both reasons right there. It's a bread of affliction because we went out quickly. Now he mentions that perhaps the Gemara in Psachim could answer this question, because the Gemara says, no, it's not the bread of affliction, it's the bread of swiftness. Because it says, it's a bread of a poor man. What does a poor man do? He says, well, quick, we don't have a lot of firewood. Firewood is expensive. Let's go quickly. So a man turns to his wife and says, quick, pass me the dough. We got to get this done really fast. We're running out of firewood. So it's not the bread of poverty, it's the bread of a poor man, which is in haste, which relates to the theme of the idea of haste. So it's halach ma'anya could be the bread of poor man who goes out in haste, which is the same as the haste of the Jews going out of Egypt. But nonetheless, it seems like a contradiction. The bread of affliction is because we went out quickly. Going out quickly is good. Bread of affliction is bad. What's going on? So he says, we have to understand. The first night, we're commemorating that, yes, we went out quickly, so we have to eat quickly. But then we ask ourselves a question. Is it good that we went out quickly, or is it bad? So, wow, it's good. You want to get out as fast as possible, right? Yeah, but kilovim nusa. There's a verse in Isaiah that says that in the end of days we will not go out with like we're running away. Lo b'chipazon tetzeu. You're not going to go running out of exile in the end of days like bandits sneaking out of a country. As a matter of fact, Moshe himself said, no, we're going to go out in the morning. When B'yad Ramah will go out in front of everybody. We're not going to go out like bandits in the middle of the night, but they did. We were rushed. We were rushed. And being rushed is not a good thing. You know, when someone says, come on, hurry up, hurry up. You feel like a slave. You feel like an employee or something that people are rushing you, pushing you around. You want to go out at your own pace. Okay, so now if you say that the chipazon is not a good thing, running out is not a good thing, so what does that mean? That we're still under Pharaoh's thumb. Pharaoh says, move, and we move. He says, jump, you jump. And let me ask you, during those 7 days, how did the Jews feel? Did they feel like, oh, great, hey, we're out of Egypt? Did they sing a song? No. They couldn't sing a song because they knew that their very existence still depended on Pharaoh. As a matter of fact, I mentioned last time that we would have been in debt, if you stopped the story there, we'd be indebted to Pharaoh to this day for having taken us out of Egypt. But actually, at that moment, Pharaoh's still chasing us. Till the 7th day, when we escape from Pharaoh, when the sea splits and Pharaoh's soldiers, or perhaps Pharaoh himself, drowns, we are not free. So he says, Torah says, don't eat the bread of largesse, the bread of the wealthy man, the wealthy man's bread, what we call regular plain bread, for 7 days, because you can't enjoy for 7 days. You're not out yet. Only on the 7th day, then you're fully out. And therefore, the first night, we commemorate the speed with which we had to go out, which could be seen as a good thing, but could also be seen as a bad thing. And it's really bread of affliction. There's still an affliction there, because you have to eat quickly. You got to get out while he pushes you out. He's going to send you out. He's going to garage. He's going to send you out. He's like a divorce. He's going to send you out of your home. And then the bread of affliction is eaten for these days. You don't have to eat the bread of affliction. There's no affliction for the next days, but you can't eat the bread of wealth because you're not out yet. You're not completely free yet, and therefore you cannot eat wealthy bread. You're not obliged to eat bread of speed because they're not running per se during the 7 days, but they're not fully free. And that's why we continue to be in affliction, in poverty, and in slavery in some ways for the 7 days, because we're not fully out till the end of those days. He says that this in some ways is an allusion to the ultimate redemption, that for the 7 days you're not going to be able, you're still going to eat the bread of affliction because you had to go out quickly. But we're looking forward to another redemption where we will not have to go out quickly. It will not be a redemption of Matza, a redemption of being pushed and forced out. It will be a redemption. We can feel, it will be good, it will be exciting. You know, we live in times when there's a discussion of maybe Jews should get out of certain parts of the world. Maybe the Jews should get out of Europe or France or certain places where we're perhaps not wanted. And some have responded and said, no, this is not the redemption we're looking forward to. We want to we'll go to Israel when we want to. We want to go to Israel out of a sense of redemption and a purpose and a national renaissance. We don't want to go running like bandits. That's our hope. No Jew should have to flee another country. A Jew should be able to go in anticipation of going up to the land of Israel, to go up to the mountain of God. This is the story. So in the end, Rabbi Elazar Ashkenazi is telling us a fascinating thing. And when it says in the verse in Deuteronomy, Lechem oni, you should eat for 7 days the bread of affliction because you went out quickly. We're stuck with a sad kind of bread for 7 days because we went out quickly. Going out quickly wasn't a good thing. But in the end of days, we'll have a redemption which will make the redemption from Egypt pale in comparison. And that redemption will be lo b'musa, not lo b'chipazon. It will not be in haste. It will not be by force. It will be something where the Jew can commute li'artzenu, where we can go with great pride back to our homeland in the land of Israel. Thanks for joining us here at the Anshe Sfard Beth Lameth congregation for our discussion of the Haggadah. Join us each week for a discussion of the Parsha and the various holidays. And thanks to Jason Lefkowitz, our producer. Thank you.
This has been 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein. To learn more, visit ASBEE.org.